AK-12 versus the AR-12. All right, guys, well, I'm back today with a versus video, the AK-12 versus the AR-12. With the advent of all of these different style 12-gauge shotguns, there are so many options on the table, and some of the most popular ones are the AK-12 and the AR-12, and they feature very similar platforms to their little brothers, you might say, the standard AK-47 or the standard AR-15. A lot of the controls are the same, the form and features are the same, but obviously they're completely different operating systems because they're shooting the 12-gauge cartridge. Probably also one of the most versatile cartridges ever produced. You can get it in small brass or low brass birdshot or high brass slugs and buckshot with 3-inch magnum shells, less lethal options, and specialty rounds. I mean, the list goes on and on. So having a 12-gauge is key to any arsenal, in my opinion. But when it comes to those more interesting or specialty shotguns, there are so many on the market. We're going to be taking a look at two today, or at least two types today, the AR-12 and the AK-12. With all that being said, I'm really basing my opinions off a few that I've used and the high value and budget price point of right around $350 to $550. Now, obviously, the more you spend, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, you get either a more refined product or more reliable product. But what we're talking about is that mid-tier, high-value budget option, which is really a staple of the channel. The two AK-12s I'm going to be referencing are the Lynx 12, imported by SDS Firearms, which is a Saiga clone, and the JTS Tactical, which is similar to a Saiga, but it's got a lot of differences, especially the mag and kind of the overall feel of the gun. Both of those guns come in right around the $350 price point. And if you like any of these at the end of the video or want my favorites, unfortunately, I can't link to them in the description, but I can post my campsite page. My campsite page is an aggregate site of all the best deals that I find on the internet and put them over there. I'll link my campsite page in the description below, and you'll be able to find the link on that campsite page that talks about the shotguns in today's video. So those are the two AK pattern shotguns we're going to be talking about. And now I want to discuss the AR shotguns we're going to be talking about. This one is from G-Force Arms. This one is pretty slick. They make a wide variety of models, but I believe you can find one similar to this for right around the $350 to $400 price point. I've also reviewed some of the Silver Eagle TR import shotguns. Both of these are Turkish shotguns, and that's where I'm drawing a lot of my opinions on. I've shot others before, but these two have the most rounds downrange, so that's kind of where we're going there. And I feel like this is a good representation between these two companies of that Turkish produced shotgun, but at a pretty decent quality at the $350 to around $500 price, depending on the model selected. So the way we're going to break this down is into different categories, and I'm going to assign a score from about 1 to 10, and maybe we'll tally them up at the end if I can remember all of these numbers, but it should give you an accurate representation of what my opinion is on the AR-12 versus the AK-12 and what might be right for you. The first is price, and the edge goes slightly to the AK-12 in the two that I've discussed. A lot of times you can find them in their base models for right around $300 to $350, and when you're talking about the ARs, it seems like they start at $350 and go right up to about $400. So for about $50 cheaper, you can pick up an AK. If you were looking at a semi-auto shotgun and like $300 was your cap and you couldn't go any more, I think a lot of these AK options are going to be where it's at when it just comes to discussing price. The next thing I want to discuss right after price is reliability and versatility with different shotgun cartridges, and the edge goes to the AK platform, and I'll tell you why in a second. I do want to start off with the AR platform though, because it actually is pretty darn versatile. I'm going to give this about a 7 out of 10 because it runs most things reliably. There will be a longer break-in period with the AR-12s because there's really no adjustable gas systems and the ones that I've used. Now, I'm sure it exists in other platforms, but again, you're going to be paying more premium price for it. And the high value and budget models that I've used around that $350 to $550 price point, you get what you get when it comes to the operating system, meaning it will run most low brass ammo, but sometimes it will give you some difficulties. In fact, while I brought this out today, we had a couple of really just stovepipes and slight feed issues with low brass ammo. When you run a little bit higher powered stuff, this thing runs like a champ, no issues whatsoever. And once you oil it up and break it in after a few hundred rounds, it runs most low brass ammo just fine. And that's also some of the TR imports. In fact, the TR imports was slightly more reliable with low brass ammunition, but it had a slightly different feel with some more plasticky components. So again, there's going to be give and takes in the price point. Switching to reliability and versatility in the AK-12 platform, a lot of these, including the Lynx and the JTS, have adjustable gas blocks up front, meaning right out of the box, they'll run whatever you put in them. I mean, absolutely run. They just go, 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 go with no issues whatsoever. Again, you can tamp off the gas to run that high powered stuff with low recoil, or you can put the gas setting wide open to run the weakest birdshot. I've never had an issue with this or the Lynx shotgun imported by SDS Firearms when it comes to reliability or versatility with rounds. 10 out of 10. I don't see how it could get any better than this guy. It is absolutely awesome. So when it comes to reliability and versatility in cartridges, this is going to be your winner. Right after reliability is shootability. And shootability is going to be broke down into its subcategories of its own. How does it feel? How does it recoil? How does it balance? And how does it handle? So the edge goes again to the JTS Tactical or the AK style shotgun in general. Both the Lynx and this are incredibly easy to shoot when it comes to recoil impulse. It's absolutely one of the smoothest shooting 12 gauge shotguns I've ever fired, and that goes for both of them. The JTS edges out the Lynx just slightly, but guys, they are smooth shooters. I've never been able to shoot a shotgun faster than this JTS, and I mean, I am absolutely dumping mags at incredible speeds. I mean, as fast as a traditional AR-15 or AK-47, and that's almost unheard of when it comes to a 12 gauge shotgun. This also is very ergonomic. It's really easy to use, but one downfall with this over the AR, it's pretty hard to reach the safety without really breaking your grip. It's a traditional AK safety, but since the controls are much larger, it's really hard to get to. Also, when you're loading mags and reloads, you almost have to kind of rock it into place, and it gets kind of fumblesome, although it's got an extended mag well. So this really, I would say, would normally get a 10 out of 10 just because of how low the recoil impulse is, but it loses some points. It makes it an 8 out of 10 because it's hard to get to the safety and a little bit difficult to reload. Also, a lot of the Saga clones, like that SDS imports the Lynx shotgun, you can't load on a closed bolt unless you're downloading the magazines. Loading is always just trickier, that I found anyways, on the AK style shotguns. Now, when it comes to shootability and recoil impulse on the AR-12s, they definitely have a more stout recoil impulse, but you can still shoot them incredibly fast, and by no means do they feel like a pump-action shotgun. They feel like a traditional tube-fed style semi-auto shotgun. The ergonomics, though, are a little bit superior on this because of the awesome rail designs that a lot of these companies are producing. Both G-Force Arms and TR Imports are really doing some slick front ends, and they also have the controls, like the safety located on the side, which are really easy to actuate, like a traditional AR-15, the traditional AR-15 mag release, the flared mag wells. They insert straight in and lock into place, and then traditional bolt release located on the side. So ergonomically, I mean, I like the AR-1 a little bit better, but because of that more stout recoil impulse, and it's not quite as quick as the AK shotgun, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 as well, so it kind of ties, and it really just depends on what you're going after. Maybe a little bit easier handling when it comes to the controls, you might want to suggest, or you really like AR-15s, this may be the one. But if you just want a speed demon, like an absolute race car rocket ship, that AKs are going to be really hard to beat. The next thing I want to discuss is accessories, the ability to add accessories to both of these. Both of these are going to have their positives and negatives, but I do want to start off with the standard 12 gauge shotguns, the AK style shotguns. Now this one has the rail system on the top. A lot of the Lynx do and don't. You'll have to find out which one does. Some of the higher end JTS Tacticals that come in at $450 have a rail system up front with M-lock slots, which is going to be really easy to add lights and lasers, optics, things like that. And this one is bolted to this top cover. So this top cover has some flex and give to it. But again, it's not a precision rifle. You can slap a red dot on here and hit minute a man at you know, 15, 20 yards, no problem whatsoever. I mean, it's going to reasonably hold zero, but not quite as good as the AR. The AR has this aluminum receiver that's completely milled in, and then it's got an overlapping section on the rail system. This is going to allow you to add optics incredibly well. Honestly, when I shoot a lot of these up close for testing, sometimes I would just flip down the sights and point shoot, and it's good enough. But if you really wanted to be precise with some slugs, I know I'm working with Ballistic Machinist on a lot of videos, and they have some incredibly precise slugs out to 200 yards. This would be your gun. Like if you wanted to take this hunting on top of just target shooting, competition shooting, personal defense, this would be your guy. You could actually mount like an LPVO, low power variable optic on here, bolt it right up to that receiver and have a solid optics setup. Also the rail system, right out of the bat, all of these are gonna have good rail systems to mount lights, lasers, things like that. It's gonna be a little bit easier to attach accessories. So this one gets a 10 out of 10 for accessories, whereas the AK gets about an 8 out of 10 for ease of use and the addition of accessory. In summary, guys, I know that was a lot, and I kind of did each individual category separately. When you add up the scores, I'm not sure what they come to, but I know what I like, and if I only had to pick one, this guy right here. This is an absolute monster. The ability to regulate the gas system to shoot whatever rounds you can possibly think of is a game changer in my opinion when it comes to 12 gauge shotguns. The ability to just dump rounds as fast as you can pull the trigger is also a game changer, and I don't mind just running this without a red dot, but adding a red dot is not too bad on most of these JTS shotguns. That SDS Lynx is going to be a little bit harder unless you buy the version with the rail system. Then it's about the same, but that rail system will wobble a little bit. This is a race car and I absolutely love it, but I also don't discount the AR-12 gauges. I'm actually going to keep one in the collection for the extent of YouTube, most likely, just because I'm going to be doing a lot of optics testing, and if I really want to take a smoothbore shotgun out to its limits, I'm going to grab that before I grab this. But for competition shoot, personal defense, range use, just fun shooting, this is the one I'm going with. I absolutely love it, but again, both have places in everybody's arsenal, and I hope this really distinguishes the two in your minds, what may be better for you. Again, all of the information as well as my campsite page will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.